It was like maybe March 20th, 21st, and I got up and I didn't feel good and I wanted to call out from work. I was like, I don't want to go into work at all. But I worked in a school department and I really feel like ethically it's not cool to call out an hour and a half before your shift starts when you're in charge of other people's children. So I mustered up, I get to work, and about maybe an hour or so in, I really started to not feel good. And I got to a place where my fingers started getting numb. And I was trying to send a text message, and it was like 10 minutes later, I was still trying to get the buttons. And this woman named Miss Tiny, who adopted me as her niece, she's like, "What's wrong, niece?" And I'm like, "I'm trying to send this text message. I don't feel good, and I'm frustrated." And she's like, "All right, well, let me help you do the text." So she helps me get the text done. And she goes, "You don't look good. I want you to go see the school nurse." So I go and I see the school nurse, and school nurse, she's like, "You don't look good, you should call the hospital." I can't help myself. I called the hospital, booked an appointment for when I got off work. It just so happened that my mom's a substitute teacher and she was in the building that day. And so when one of my other friends found out I wasn't feeling good and that I was gonna go to the hospital, but not till later, my mother came down the hall and was like, "Hell no, this is not how it's going. You're going now, let's go to the hospital." By the time I made it to the hospital with calling and letting them know what symptoms I was feeling, by the time I got to the hospital, I had lost all mobility on the left side, and my thought process was completely just distorted. I was trying to give information, wasn't really giving everything the way it needed to be. They actually thought I had a stroke for 3 days. So for 3 days, I was in the emergency room, but on the stroke floor, because everything presented like a stroke. They ran every test under the sun. I mean, I had a test that a tube was going down my throat while I was awake because they wanted to make sure there was no damage to my heart. So I had every test you could think of, poked and poked and poked, and 3 days later they go, "It came back as an autoimmune deficiency, but we're not sure which one." So I have this huge breakdown in the hospital because at this point I'm angry, I'm upset. No one knows what's wrong with me. I obviously don't feel good. I'm not looking the way I'm looking, and they sent me home. I called the person, got in 2 days later, and she goes, "Based off of everything that I'm seeing, you've got multiple sclerosis." And I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "And the brain imaging is showing me that this is your 6th relapse." I said, "What?" She goes, "Let me show you." And you see all these dark marks on the MRI showing all the different damage that has been done over the last 20 years from having these relapses from multiple sclerosis. So that's kind of the gist of it. I didn't feel good, went in thinking we had a stroke, found out it was multiple sclerosis, and then from there, had to kind of figure out how to live your new normal.
Thank you.
Thank you.